This is Pre-Algebra, and this video is going to be part 1 of a lesson on adding and subtracting integers. Take a moment, please, get out your Cornell sheet, write today's date, and please add your title. Make sure that you fill in your essential question when you get a moment. Make sure you fill it in before you watch the video. Alright, so for adding and subtracting integers, first we should talk about what an integer is. Integers are positive and negative whole values. So, they're the things you'd find in a number line, things like -1, -3, 0, 7, 14. They are not, however, fractions, and they are not decimals. I'm speaking quickly, so please pause the video, write down what I just said. If you missed understanding, then go back and listen to it again so you can make sure that you fully understand. So no fractions today, no decimals. All right, we're going to be using a strategy of using a number line today to help us solve our problems. This is a strategy that you can write on any paper. You can add a number line to your test, you can draw it in, and so it's an easy one to use. We're going to start with 3, and we're going to be adding and subtracting some positive and some negative numbers. What we want to be looking for is a pattern here. What kind of patterns can we figure out? The first number is what we have when we start. So in this case, I have 3. I'm starting at 3. And I'm adding 2. When we add, we move in a positive direction in our number line. Positive, that direction. So if I start at 3 and I move in a positive direction, 2 more, starting at 3, 4, 5, and my final answer would be 5. Easy enough, you've had that since you were little. And let's try another one. I'm starting with 3, and then I'm adding -2. Sometimes it's hard to think about adding something negative. What do I do? If you're adding something negative, it's moving you in a negative direction. We're adding negative things, that makes it more negative. So start at 3, and we're going to move 2 more in a negative direction. Starting at 3, move 2 in a negative direction, that takes us to 1. Notice, when we were just adding our positive number, we're pretty much just adding. When we're adding a negative number, we're adding things that are negative. We're getting more negative. It's like subtracting. Let's try another one. I start off with 3, so I'm at 3 on my number line again, and I'm subtracting 2 this time. You already know how to do this. Start at 3, subtract 2, move 2 in a negative direction. Negative is, of course, that way. And 3 subtracting 2 is 1. We're moving in a negative direction. We're subtracting. Now here comes one that sometimes is a little more confusing. I have 3, and I'm subtracting a -2. Okay, subtracting a negative. This is like going one direction and then having to change directions again. Some people think of this as 2 negatives cancel each other out. However you think of it, if you're subtracting something negative, it's moving you in a positive direction. So we're going to start at 3, which is here, and we're going to move in a positive direction, because that's what subtracting a negative is, 2 more. 1, 2. It's going to take us to 5. Subtracting a negative is like adding. Look at the pattern here. I use the same numbers, 3s and 2s, and sometimes I added, sometimes I subtracted, sometimes they were positive numbers, sometimes they were negative. I got the same answer for these 2 and the same answer for those 2. I have the same operation for these 2, and I have the same operation for those 2. If I'm just adding a positive number, or if I'm subtracting a negative, I'm adding in both cases. If I'm adding a negative number, or I'm subtracting a positive number, I'm subtracting. Let's look at what this looks like when we start with negative numbers. This actually isn't any different, but I wanted to show it to you so you don't get confused. In this case, instead of starting at +3, we're going to start at -3. The math works exactly the same. I just happen to start somewhere else on my number line. So I'm starting at -3, which is here, -3. And I'm going to add 2. That means I'm going to move 2 in a positive direction. Adding 2, we're adding, moving that way. Start at negative 3, move positive 2. I should end up at negative 1. Oops, sorry about that. Negative 1, there we go. What about here? I have negative 3, and I'm adding negative 2. Adding a negative, adding something negative means we're moving in a negative direction. Adding something negative means I'm moving in a negative direction. Start at negative 3, move in a negative direction, 2 more. 1, 2, I end up at negative 5. How about this one? I'm at negative 3, and I'm subtracting 2. If I start at negative 3, and I subtract 2, I'm doing the same thing I did here. I'm moving in a negative direction. Both plus a negative and minus positive, we move negative. Negative 3 minus 2 more is negative 5. All right, now our last one. We learned that minus a negative is the same as adding. Minus a negative is the same as adding. So I'm negative 3, but to subtract negative 2, I'm going to move in a positive direction, like I'm adding. Negative 3 plus 2. 1, 2 takes me to negative 1. Notice there's only 2 cases where we're moving in a positive direction. That's when I'm just adding a regular positive number, like I am here, or when I have those 2 negative signs together, subtracting a negative and subtracting a negative. Anywhere else, if I'm subtracting